the unofficial income guide. At the start of the year, there was a bit of chatter in our Facebook group. And if you want to join the Facebook group, Money, Money, Money podcast, just put, I heard Glen on the podcast talking about the unofficial income guide, so we know that you're not a spam account. At the start of the year, there was a heap of anonymous posts when nicknames were a thing in our group. And the anonymous posts were like, we've got a household income of 400 grand or a household income of 200, or I'm on 180 grand and I'm 22 years old, and all this like wild stuff. And a heap of people were like messaging me on Instagram, even commenting in the group like, hey, are these spam accounts? And I'm like, no, literally I can hover over the nickname and see that it's a real person. And I kind of had known from previous survey data that our money podcast does have a bit of a shtick and a tilt to those who are more dialed in with their money, a lot with younger women, professional, earning great money. And I think for whatever reason, our show has attracted that type of person and listener. And I think it's awesome. So what I wanted to do based on that was, well, let's do an unofficial survey. Let's actually ask people how much they're earning and just get some real numbers so everyone can get pervy and have a look. So what we did, we asked everyone what their total annual earnings were, including superannuation, including regular bonuses, to get a unofficial real-world income guide so people could download. And in the ebook that you can download, we'll put a link in the show notes, you'll be able to see that you can, at the last page, you can click download. You can download the CSV data. There's no names on it. It's literally all the questions we asked, and you can have a look for yourself. You could filter it by no uni qualification, filter that in Excel, and just go through and see the incomes and knock yourself out. You could make your own charts and, have a big party. So this is the unofficial income guide of listeners of the Money, Money, Money podcast. Today on the show, I am joined by Emily Bowen. Emily, welcome back.
Thank you, Glen.
Look, you haven't been on the show for a long time. You are general manager at Boldside. You are a HR consultant, you're a recruitment operative, you're a work podcaster, you're a mother, you're a daughter, you're a sister.
I'm a woman of many talents.
You are it, and you are back, and people would have known you from the This Is Work podcast. So thank you for coming back and just unpacking this data with me.
Yeah, this is a cool read. Interesting.
Yeah, and I think what I want to do is set the episode up, and we'll do it right now. Okay, so this episode, I think this is just us chatting about it in real time.
Yeah, let's do that.
So if you are new to the podcast, it might not be the episode for you, because this is going to be for really those who have listened to the podcast for a long time, who are in the Facebook group, who filled out the survey themselves, and we're just going to shoot the breeze on this data. And as I said, there is a link in the show notes if you want to download it. Before we do look at some of the data, and we'll put some stuff on the screen, I just wanted to say that I'm not an actuary, a statistician, a researcher. I didn't commission an external party to help this. We didn't do a randomized freaking population sample. This is worth nothing unless you listen to the podcast, basically.
Yeah, and you're a bit pervy, as you said earlier.
Yeah, it's a good...
Just interesting.
It's just interesting. And the breakdown of people who took the survey, well, we know that more than 3/4 were under 40. So, I'd say 3/4, 76% were under 40 years old. So it just skewed to that. Strongest in New South Wales, Victoria, and Queensland. And that's pretty, if we look at our podcast listener data, most people are in Brisbane, Sydney, Melbourne.
Yep.
That's why I've never done an event in Darwin.
Hobart?
No, we have in Hobart.
Okay. Yeah,
we get a
right.
good size for
Yeah.
relative. Like,
Yeah.
I had the same amount of people at a Hobart event as the London and Auckland event. So
Oh, nice.
yeah, it's decent.
Yeah, good. What were our top industries?
Yeah.
Healthcare, government. So healthcare and government, 18 and 15% respectively. Then a bit of a drop
Yeah.
to finance, education, technology and construction, between 6 to 9%. And so something that stood out to me when I read that was mining and resources wasn't there. I know that mining and resources does get a mention later.
Yes.
Because of their high income earners. But what I thought was, okay, well, it's not as if we've had this significant or over-representation of a really highly paid industry. Notwithstanding, I know government, we did find pay as well.
Yeah. So let's now move and have a look at the big picture in terms of the income snapshot. So what I did, I didn't want, because I'm kind of a bit lazy and didn't use an external party, I wasn't like, write your income in, because people always do like 70K or 70,000 and they leave a zero off.
And then you've got to deal with the data.
I've just got to clean up the data. Yeah. So I just did income brackets, but the median listener income sits in the 120 to basically 140 bracket. So around 45% of all respondents reported earning 140 or more. This is an audience that skews towards above average earners, which is just crazy, right? And then, 72% said they liked their job.
Yeah. This is another asterisk moment for me. 72% said they like their job. 17% said that their workload is not sustainable longer term, and another 17%, so what's that, 34 all up, were unsure. So I thought, okay, that's interesting to think about. 72% said they like their job. 34% have said that it's not sustainable long term, or they're not sure that it is. So what's going to happen to those people? Like, it's all well and good to like your job right now, but if it doesn't feel
if
sustainable.
you don't feel it's sustainable, because there could be a lot of, well, we know there was a lot of people in government and technology.
Yeah.
That's very interesting.
And it's like, is there a price on, particularly given we're sitting above that, like we're looking at pretty high income earners through this survey. Is there a bit of a price on exhaustion, or a price on like working really hard, and the other trade-offs that come with high income?
So I thought this was interesting. Pretty much 47% worked fully in person, 46% are hybrid. So only about 7% were fully remote. Do you reckon that's probably in line with the broader world, do you think?
It is, when you think about like teachers, nurses, doctors. There are professions where so much of those cohorts, they can't do their work but for turning up.
So you know how Victorian government have mandated remote arrangements or working from home? I haven't personally looked at the actual legislation that's...
I was going to say, don't quiz me on it, but I've got a general
but like, if we just
awareness.
Free talk on that, it's kind of dumb when like a nurse can never work from home. So there's obviously carve-outs.
Yeah. Yeah, it's an interesting one to consider. I mean, there's also been legislation come in that is trying to set people up to not be like called upon when they're at home. So, you can't be – someone's clocked off for the day. You can't be calling them, emailing them, expecting them
the
to
right
respond.
to disconnect.
That's right.
I think that's cool.
Yeah, but then once you actually drill into it, nothing is a blanket. Like nothing can apply to everybody.
Yeah.
And then how do you get into the grey of those sorts of
laws? Anyway.
Pros and cons to every job out there.
Absolutely. So one of the big themes that we looked at was that you don't need a degree to earn big. If you're one of our listeners, 36% of non-uni type or degree workers earned over $140,000 a year.
Yeah, and there's some big numbers, like particularly once you start to show some of the snapshots.
Yeah, and we put, and you'll see it when you download the document, because we're not going to get to all of it in this little episode. We're just kind of doing some highlights. but you'll see and be able to read like verbatim comments of what people's jobs are, what they did.
I think I had to tell myself, well, they must just never get to see their family or something to make myself feel better.
Yeah, I know. I'm seriously looking at this. I'm like, I feel intimidated that some of these workers that listen to this show, I'm like, wow, these are like
Glen, what should I do with my $500,000 income?
And I'm like, I don't know, give me some.
Yeah, there was some big numbers in there.
So 60% did on-the-job training, which I reckon is so cool. To start somewhere, I get on-the-job training, experience, potentially without a uni degree, get specialised in that world. I did a What Will Glen Do episode just recently. It's probably out in the coming weeks, where this young woman was like 28 years old, working as a pharmaceutical rep, doing like 140, 150K of rev, started in the pharmacy, left school, started in the pharmacy at age 18, understood products and all that stuff, and then talked with another rep, and anyway, got a job and he's now got a whopping income with no uni degree.
Yeah.
But it's sales, and it's, I don't know, I wanted this data to be helpful to people just to see what other possibilities are out there.
Yeah, and just remembering that the question was like, if you package up your regular bonuses and your base and everything, what's your income? So it could be that pharmaceutical sales rep is on a lower base, but she's consistently doing a really good job, and so her bonus is getting her to that.
Yeah. But most of the base was like 120.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
And like 40 or 50K in bonuses.
Not bad. Yeah. Not bad at all.
I'm like, whoa, I might get a job.
Yeah. But to your point on, I think you said she started there at 18. Like one thing I thought about, because we talk in here somewhere in this guide about how many people while they were at uni also got on the job experience.
Yes.
And it wasn't nearly as many people as these on-the-job learners with no degree. And so I thought, well, what if you had a degree? Like, what if you were getting your degree and you could get on-the-job experience at the same time? Because otherwise you're entering the workforce and there's like, 3 to 5 years where you're in inverted commas behind.
Or at least get some type of industry position. So if actually, I was talking to someone the other day. They were studying physiotherapy at uni and casually working in reception at the physio. Like, perfect example.
Yes.
Get involved in that world.
Yes, there's networking benefits.
Yep.
You've got pole position when you are qualified enough
Yep.
to actually get the degree. Maybe you do a, remedial massage certificate on the side and do that as your job while you're studying physio. Or I know a lot of personal trainers, they'll get their PT certificate studying to become a physio.
And I wanted to put in here that the ABS reports the median weekly income for all Australian employees was $1,425 per week as of August 2025, or roughly $74,000 a year. But because in my survey we're doing total package including super, that means it's about 83,000. So if we have a look at the ABS data for most Aussies working full-time, 83,000. Most of our listeners, over 130, over 140. So listening to this podcast attracts a higher earning person. And that's what I wanted to get across for all those people in the group going, oh, is this fake? Is this fraud? And all that. You become who you hang around. Lean in. You want to be rich? Do what rich people do. We're going to show a slide in a moment, 7 ways to earn more money based on this data.
Yeah, it's actually a really good part of this guide.
Yeah, so I just want to really encourage everyone to lean in and learn. We actually have a segment or a page in the book, or a couple of pages about, we call it the 200 Plus Club with no degree. 60 people without a university degree reported earning 200 or more. Their roles range from engineering managers, electricians and plant supervisors in mining, to delivery leads in tech, senior underwriters in finance, and people and culture managers. There you go, Em.
Yeah.
Giddy up.
Yeah, look at me go.
The common thread was not the piece of paper, but it was the willingness to learn on the job, take opportunities, lean in, all that stuff.
which everyone can do.
Yeah. So there's a quote here. I didn't go to university and therefore I shouldn't have the career I do or earn the money that I do.
That's humble, but I'm
Take
sure. Yeah.
This quote here was also cool. Competency trumps certifications over experience after experience is established.
Yeah, and maybe that's just a good point to have a moment on, in that once you're into your career and you have got that 5 years, 10 years, 15 years experience, you've got that network, you've got people that you've worked in the industry with, you can lean into those things. If you are 18, 19, 20 and you're trying to get your first job, it's like, what does that look like? What's an entry point? But we've given some good examples about being a pharmacy assistant or a receptionist.
Yeah.
And then that will build over time.
And that's like the iceberg. For every one dumb example we give of, study physio and work in a physio reception, like that's a dumb example. I'm not saying the role's dumb. It's just an easy example for us to give. There's for every easy example we give, there are probably 20 other examples. Yeah. You know I love a bad analogy, don't you?
Yes.
You know I love
almost as much as you love a bad segue.
Exactly.
Go on.
When you're starting your career, peeps, it's like flying an aeroplane. The most intense, hardest part is the takeoff. Got to do all the checklists, the prep.
For all those people out there who understand what it's like to fly a plane and can
aviation,
relate to this.
Yeah. Let me tell you about aviation, my friends. That's the most risky, hardest part, to get off the ground up to cruise, right? I'll use another analogy.
Yeah, now that we all understand that.
It's also very dangerous and risky and hard. That's retirement. It's hard to go, what do I do now that I don't have a job? Anyway, you got to get up there, get to flight and cruise altitude. Then you can start to serve food and do all the fun career stuff and see if we can make more money.
Have a sleep.
Yeah, we've got to launch.
If you're after personal financial advice, don't get it from a podcast. But if you want guidance tailored to your situation, head to moneypodcast.com.au and click Get Help. We'll connect you with one of our trusted professionals, financial advisors and mortgage brokers, who work with people right across Australia. No matter where you are, they can help. Now, before we get back to the show, a quick reminder to protect your financial life. That means having income protection sorted. It means having death cover if there's any debt or dependents relying on you. It means getting your personal insurance in order. Most people insure their car, they insure their house, but what about themselves? Sky Wealth, who support this podcast, are specialist financial advisors who can help you get the right cover in place. Their advice is often more comprehensive and better value than going direct through your super. Book a complimentary 15-minute chat at sky.com.au. That's skye.com.au, and they'll point you in the right direction.
Okay, we asked people what their main drivers at work for. What do we find here, Emily?
So we actually found, drum roll, that pay came in on top at 36%, followed by flexibility, good culture and leaders, challenging tasks, and career growth. I couldn't help but think that maybe the cohort that we've surveyed might have skewed this a little bit, because typically in other surveys you wouldn't necessarily find pay sitting at the top. You would find some of these other,
interesting,
would I call them more fluffy sort of examples would probably take that pole position.
Yeah, the one thing I did take away, and this is for any business leaders and managers listening, people don't care about the EAP stuff.
Oh, no.
Like, quote unquote.
That would be consistent. Yeah.
Like, yeah, we'll take that, or
yeah.
I don't care about education opportunities. Literally just pay me well and have a good workplace.
That helps. And when it comes to, education opportunities, I think if we think of that as like going along to a training course or having your degree paid for, you're right, that's not up there.
It's kind of hygiene.
Yeah, or it just doesn't kind of pull any value. But when I think about challenging tasks and career growth, which have found their way into our top 5, that's still about learning. That's still about progression, and that's still about staying interested at work. You're just doing it through that more on-the-job fashion.
Yeah. And there's an episode coming up in a couple of weeks where we're talking about your career Q&A. I think we might, in that episode, because someone does ask about pay, I think we might talk about these things and like in different seasons things can be a priority for you. But it's just good to know. Pay is obviously hygiene because it is a money audience. It is an audience that's drilled in and intentional.
Yes.
But they're not going to hang around if it's not flexible or it's a cesspool.
That's right. And particularly because within reason, I understand there's exceptions, but if you can get the pay here, you can get it there. So the differentiators are those other things that the workplace offers around flexibility and culture.
You want to know a secret?
I'll go on.
When I was putting the survey together, I'm like, I text Shell. I'm like, I want to do a question about like work stuff, and then you can use it if you're pitching business leaders at Boldside for like people don't want just like they don't only want good pay, they want good leaders and culture. Use the data.
Little marketing.
I just wanted to do it. Yeah, so so Boldside, if you want to use it, it's like, hey, but in all seriousness, we surveyed 1,600 highly paid, professional, career-driven people.
I was going to say they're ambitious people.
And if you want these people in your business, you have to look at this.
Yes. Yep, I do agree with that.
Okay, career breaks. Nearly 42% of respondents had taken an extended break from paid work. Among women, 39% had taken parental leave compared with just 11% of men. Many women described returning to lower roles, having to rebuild their careers or accepting reduced hours. On a positive note, 81% said that their roles offered at least some flexibility for caring responsibilities, with 31% reporting a lot of flexibility. Flexibility is not just a perk, it's, basically becoming a reason people stay.
Yeah, life is really hard if you're trying to work and you don't have flexibility.
It does. So I know that's literally 2 or 3 sentences there. You've done the mum thing and all that. Does that resonate with you?
It does. I'd love to see some of these numbers higher, like, 31% reporting a lot of flexibility, whilst the 81% saying there's some is really pleasing. That 31% feels pretty disappointing. But, I've probably woven a bit of my subjectivity into some of this commentary when I've talked about flexibility because it is a game changer. If we could get, there's a whole conversation to be had about getting to a position where it's easier for that load to be shared between both caregivers, male and female typically, that would be awesome. That would be a game changer. But, flexibility becomes just this commodity. We always say you've got a finite amount of time and if we all had more time, like how can you put a price on that? Flexibility is absolutely up there, particularly once you become a parent.
When asked if moving into their current role meaningfully increase their income, 60% said yes and a further 21% said somewhat. Changing roles isn't just about getting a raise in the same job. It's the most common pathway to a meaningful pay increase.
Yeah, and we do hear that. That's not new information to me. That's something that is time and time again it comes up and there might be the odd listener out there who that does sort of turn a light bulb on for, but I think a lot of people have obviously experienced it. So if they don't know it exists, they've experienced it. You do want to be mindful that if you try and job hop too frequently through your career, that could start to work against you. But done well, it's a strategic lever for sure.
Let's actually just continue on this career break deep dive. A sponsorship client director came back to a more junior position at a big company, and I've seen great growth since leaving that business. So a pilot said, hey, a pilot, hello.
There you go. Here's one we prepared earlier.
Return part-time was like takeoff for me. It took – no, they didn't say that. I don't know if you saw it. Emily rolled her eyes.
Did someone catch that?
Return part-time after becoming a parent and have not yet gone back to full-time. 14 years as part-time. I salary sacrifice into super since going part-time so my super doesn't suffer. The most common way women return to work was part-time, followed by returning to work in the same role. 60 women moved into an entirely new role or industry, so a very small percentage when I'll use this as a reset pivot. The wild thing is 61% of women said the career break impacted their career, where only 29% of men said that.
Because, it's not just about the career break. I think when you're talking about career impact, that can mean so many things, and it's the return as well. So whilst part-time can be amazing and for employers to offer that is a really supportive thing to do, it can also take its toll. There was somewhere in this report, I don't want to jump you ahead too far,
jump.
But where we also found, I think it might have been towards the back end, that actually there were people who went, you know what, because I'm earning quite a healthy income, I can actually, and I think there might have even been a quote where someone's like, you know what, I could earn 130K working full-time, or now I'm a parent, I can earn 90-odd K working 3 days a week, and that's really worth it to me. So I thought that was interesting too. That's right, part-time, page 18, part-time doesn't mean low income. Don't let me derail it.
No, derail, but it just goes like, this is like a 22-page ebook, and I'm just trying to give everyone a bit of a sampler. Let's finish up with a couple of quotes, what 200K actually looks like out there in the unofficial income guide. I manage a team of lawyers supporting a global technology consulting business. I'm a general counsel earning 500 to 750. So, I mean, that's obviously an outlier.
I was about to say, they're not all like that.
I like this one here, Em.
Yes.
Admin, invoicing, accounts, paperwork for sites. Office manager, 200K, no formal qualification.
That was, so you talked about the lawyer.
Are you on an oil rig? Or?
You talked about the general counsel, it's, 700K or whatever it was. And then this one, they were both sort of little mind-blown moments for me, because I went, okay, there's not too many office managers out there, qualified or not, so to speak, who are earning that amount of money for that sort of responsibility.
I like this one because it speaks to career moves rather than individual job moves. I do client meetings, writing advice, reviewing documents, managing calendar, and following up leads. Paramedic team manager, 240 to 260K.
Yeah. And that,
With
the
a
idea
bachelor's
that they're a team manager, I'm thinking they've probably come through as a paramedic.
Yeah.
And now they've increased their income by taking on that people leader responsibility.
And using the transferable skills that they've got.
That's right.
And knowing the language.
Yeah.
So this is a really important thing. When you are looking at career moves, you can move careers. Like if you're an expert paramedic, you know how to speak paramedic. You know the industry barbecues you go to.
Oh, yes.
Everyone's talking in paramedic
All
or
the
finance
jargon.
or HR.
Yeah, try and keep up with the acronyms.
You can speak that. Is there another industry that needs insight into that world that you can speak to them and be the bridge and all that stuff? There's heaps of examples in there. This one here, as we slide through, we all know it that, your 40s to 50s is your higher income years. It just kind of plots that out. That the wild thing was, based on the data, there was a lot of people under 25 years old earning 120 grand. Like,
good on them.
Spank me sideways.
And I'm glad they're listening to this pod too, if they've got that sort of money to play with.
Absolutely. Here's that slide we're looking for. Part-time doesn't mean low pay.
Yeah.
So 104K average part-time income versus the national median income that we looked at before of 83K, including super, which is full-time. Like, this is wild, this data. Okay, 7 ways to increase your income based on the data that we have got from 1,600 listeners. This isn't a global 7 ways to increase your income. There could be some trends, but this is just looking at the data, looking at the theme, looking at the trends. What's the first way there, Em?
So we've got change roles. So don't, rather than just sitting in your current position or your current company and waiting for that pay review and that increase, actually to change roles is number one. Are these in order? Did you do these in order?
Yes.
Yeah. So that's the number one way. Something that I don't believe gets mentioned, but I might just like shoehorn into that is, and it came through in the guide, was the location piece. So actually using leverage from working in, say, WA instead of Tasmania. So if you're changing roles, you could even think as broadly as, do I go and do this in another state, and will that help me earn more?
Like uproot your life.
Basically, yeah, no biggie.
If you want to chase the big dollars and get and get to take off.
Yeah, and that's exactly right. We're really going to hammer that analogy all the way to the end.
All day long.
Okay.
Number 2, step into leadership. Listeners who led people averaged 166 versus 132 for those who didn't. A 34K premium. High income earners repeatedly described stepping into management as the turning point in their career.
Yeah. Which is an awesome job. It can be very rewarding, but it is something that I would consider a trade-off as well, because you need to decide, is that extra 34K? I mean, if you're already earning 132, is that extra 34K worth the additional stress, pressure? It's a career change.
A friend of mine moved to a job that was heaps more money, like 50, 60 more. And he's like, I started having panic attacks. It's not worth it for me.
It happens, yeah. I've heard those stories myself.
Number 3, M.
Work for a large or listed company. So this is like the corporate premium.
Yeah.
I think government was up there too. But yeah, working for a large corp, so 1,000 plus employees, is going to mean that you're paid more than if you're in a small business, for example.
Number 4, get into a role with a bonus or commission. So fixed salary averaged around 134. Fixed salary with bonus averaged 180. With bonus and commission, getting 193. So this is just wildness. Em, do you want to talk about number 5?
Sure. So I loved this one. Make sideways moves to build breadth. So actually something that came through from how 200K plus earners in particular was this idea of creating that breadth of experience, maybe doing some lateral moves before you then start going up the ladder.
Yeah, 100%. Number 6, talked about experience. There was this theme there that those who are in their roles for more than a couple of years really start, like, just time in the trenches.
Yeah.
Just doing the reps.
And this is why, even if you are doing uni, try and get that job in there, because that'll give you 3 to 5 years.
You can catapult that. Yeah.
Exactly.
Number 7, about working hybrid. I think while the data did show it, as I just think it's a reality that if you're working for a government or corporate, I think a lot of them may have been more white collar that had the hybrid and flexibility.
Yeah,
but the data showed there was a trend in that role having 155K versus 138. 155 versus 138.
Yeah, I mean, your hybrid workers are probably more likely finance, tech, those sorts of professions that can pay well, particularly in the big corps, whereas nurses and we had a strong representation of education and healthcare.
Yeah.
And nurses and teachers, for example, they're not paid.
You can't do hybrid. Yeah.
They can't do hybrid. Yeah.
This is a really good quote to end on. And thank you, everyone, for joining us today. We just wanted to do a little teaser episode, a little half hour. It is available now to download. There'll be a link in the show notes. It's free download. You can download the ebook, which is over 20 pages. You can then, on the last page of the ebook, you can click the link and download the CSV and do your own analysis and tell me that my analysis was wrong, all that stuff. That's fine. It's open source. We're showing our work, all that stuff. The last quote, I'll let Emily read it.
Being technically brilliant isn't the thing that will see you progress. You need to have people skills, and this comes from a credible source, a manager earning the 220 to 239K bracket.
So I don't care how smart you are, can you deal with people?
Totally. I agree with that wholeheartedly as someone who has worked in the people space for many years.
So the long and the short is, if we distilled it all, if you want a cracking income, like our listeners earning over 140 grand, you've got to become a woman. 70% were women.
Oh, contentious.
You have to work, we think, for big corporate or government. You're likely to be a people manager. Mm. You're potentially going to have to, if you want to supercharge your income, get a new role, because a prophet is not honoured in their own town. Mm-hmm. So you need to move and reestablish yourself, new role. And the degree helps.
Yeah, but not necessarily. Not necessary. But if you don't have the degree, you've probably got more years experience and on-the-job training, and you've really lent in to all that.
Do you have any final comments?
My final comment would be not something shown in here, but since you've given me the platform.
Go for it.
It's like this idea of get in the driver's seat, be strategic. You know, it's really easy for us to look in the rearview mirror and go, oh, people who are earning this amount have done these things. I don't know that they all would have planned it that way. I think retrospectively they can see those patterns. But, yeah, if you're listening now, there's no time like the present.
Love it. Well, thank you so much, Emily Bowen, HR extraordinaire to the stars, recruitment operative, but at the moment, operations manager for Boldside. And you can hear Em on the This Is Work podcast pretty regularly with Shell Johnson. Thank you so much for having a chat about all this data.
Thanks, Glen.
Any advice is general financial advice only, which does not take into account your objectives, financial situation, or needs. Because of that, you should consider if the advice is appropriate to you and your needs before acting on the information. If you do choose to buy a financial product, read the Product Disclosure Statement, PDS, and Target Market Determination, TMD, and obtain appropriate financial advice tailored to your needs. Simo Interactive Pty Ltd, the publisher of this podcast, and Glen James are authorised representatives of Money Sherpa Pty Ltd, which holds financial services license 451289. Opinions or comments from any guests on the podcast are theirs and not those of the host or the publisher or their respective license holders.